sky. Mama taught her well, praise the gods, any shape, any form, conjure up a storm cloud. It rained, it pours, let it fall down. Spirit dance, Cherokee, Blackfoot, put a pound to the ground. Two-step is all it took. Hey, I used to run from the sound of the drums. Cause spirit would hear it, and spirit would come. African dance. Rhythm of the king can be the sounds of life. But we should dance, got me moving in the trance. Circle motion got me going and going. African dance, African dance, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey. I used to run from the sound of the drums. The spirit would hear it, the spirit would come. I never felt this feeling before, but my body moving around like it already know. I just release, let go. All them burdens I've been bearing, I ain't carrying no more. I reach high, feel low. Let your chakras open up, let the feeling in your soul get high, feel low. Let your chakras open up, let the feeling in your soul. African dance, African dance, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey, African dance, African dance, just move, make your body 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 just move. So some move, y'all can move, maybe joy, my Johnny, deep ride with the drums play, crossing over in the corners of the moonlight. Feel the rhythm of the kinky, the sounds of life. But we should dance, got me moving in the trance. Circle motion got me going and going. African dance, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey, African dance, African dance, African dance, hey, African dance, African dance, African dance. Just move, make your body just move, make your body just move, your body just move.
What's good? How can I how is it I was on denim design. How would denim design tap into the show?
If they click on the YouTube link, they'll be able to see
How
it.
do I find it? Because it's not on here. Do I go to Kola and Soljet or Soljet Tarot? Let me see. It's not on my page. So
Yeah,
it's not on here. So do we share it after or what? It's not on news. How do I find it? It's not on New Soljet community either. Is there a way to put it on there?
yeah, I'll put it on there now.
Okay. Well, welcome in. Yeah. So tonight, you want me to go ahead and do the opening? So tonight is the first episode of Witchy Wednesday, or the series of the taboo nature of witchcraft and spirituality. My name is Sis'star Soljet, and tonight I have Knowledge Born Allah joining me, and we're going to tap into what actually inspired me to do this series. It started on Clubhouse during the pandemic, and it was doing pretty well. And then I stopped for, just for my own peace, because it was a lot just dealing with other energies during the pandemic. So I stepped back, but then I've decided to bring it back on because it was just on Clubhouse, but I wanted to do it like on a platform where, like Facebook, YouTube. So here it is. And what actually inspired it was I was watching the movie, the Salem Witch Trials of, 1692. And that was my first time watching a movie. I read the book about maybe 6 or 7, no, it's been a while, maybe like 8, 9 years ago, I read the book. And the book was one thing, but the movie, it gave me the visual aspect of what was going on. The book was a lot, and it covered pretty much the movie did, well in portraying what the book was conveying, and these are events that's based on the true events that happened here in America. And so the movie kind of it triggered me in a lot of ways. It's actually a good movie, well made. They have some all cast, all-star, what do you call them, cast, not a lot, it's an all-star cast. The main characters, you got Kirstie Alley, who else, Shirley MacLaine, just some of the some others, but whatever the case, it inspired me to want to go ahead and talk about this taboo nature of witchcraft and spirituality. And you guys will understand more as we begin to talk about the movie. But it was very triggering, and and even the storyline itself, very triggering. And for me it was. So me and Knowledge, I had already saw it, and then I was telling Brother Knowledge about it, and then we decided to watch it together on StreamYard, so that we can go ahead and do this review. So what did you think about it, Brother Knowledge? Just the whole experience of the movie, and just something you're gonna do.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here on Calligraphy TV.
Right.
Honest to our community, the new
Shout out.
Soljet healing community, and I'm honored to be a part of this kickoff series, the taboo nature of spirituality and witchcraft. I think there's a lot of misnomers and misidentification associated with our connection to nature, our connection to our ancestors, our connection to God, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
we know in traditions we have taboos that are associated with each space that we operate in. So I'm thankful to you for having the foresight and the insight to be able to, invite me here to participate. This movie wasn't one that I saw. I was familiar with the Salem Witch Trials, but the dramatization and the cinematic appeal, I was like, whoa, just seeing it. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? Just seeing it set off some sort of a catalyst. So yeah, I was excited, when you extended the invitation to watch it. I have a lot more things to say, but I think I'll just leave it right there for the moment.
Yeah, it was a trip. I mean, like on so many levels. And remember, I forgot about this part, even the length of the movie, because we have to watch it in two parts. We didn't even watch it in one sitting. We did two sessions where we watched it twice. Yeah, that was intense. You know, so what do you feel is the takeaway? Like, before, should we do the takeaway now? Should we just go ahead and get into, you know, you can set the movie up. Why don't you set it up for us and tell everybody like what, pretty much how it starts off, and just a little bit of that.
Okay, well, this is a film that came out in 2002. It was directed by James Sargent. I found that interesting, just in the name within itself, because it kind of moves militaristically, even though it's supposed to be a religious faction. So
Hmm.
it's the Puritan time in history, maybe about 80 or so years before the United States becomes the United States. It's a
Hmm.
settlement where people from different places in Europe were coming to this Newfoundland. They was calling it Newfoundland back then.
Hmm.
So 1692, in Salem, this is a snapshot of the Puritans, supposed to be devout. One of the reasons why they left was they were facing religious persecution.
Hmm.
So they came to this Newfoundland to be able to establish their settlement and the free practice of their religion, quote unquote. So this is Puritanism at its finest, right? So
Hmm.
they're,
Hmm.
they're there, and it's rogue because
Very
it's not
well.
something that's sanctioned by any of the religious spaces. So just think about the mind that's associated with, okay, I'm gonna strike out and do my own thing. So you're doing your own thing, and this is what you're doing with your own thing, amongst your own people.
Hmm.
So nobody there is supposed to be a non-believer. So I just think it was very rich in detail in regards to describing the scene. You got the settlers, they're building houses for themselves, and the the economy is affected by wood.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
the wood was was like gold. You see what I'm saying over there?
Mm-hmm.
So this there are families that are situated, and for all intents and purposes, it looks like it's a good Puritan village.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was the appeal. So it gives this appearance as this civilized society where they have structure, they have order, they have family, they have community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Under that, there's an undercurrent where there's a feudal war that exists between families
Mm-hmm.
as an undercurrent. So
Mm-hmm.
two main families are at war, and it's a silent war. They're not out trying to kill each other in the streets. They're just making moves strategically and defrauding one another, and you know taking things from families.
Right.
So at the helm of that, there's a space where everybody else is looking to continue to flourish and take care of their families and whatnot. So there's a situation where we see how the power of fear to absolve oneself from wrongdoing leads into peril.
Mm-hmm.
So fear of being discovered, fear of wrongdoing, mass distraction, all working in tandem, and then it just spirals out of control, and
Right.
it be,
Right.
be
Mm-hmm.
and it begins to set the tone for what we would get into and see, and what would be a historical you know, blunder and tragedy of the Salem witch trial.
Right. Absolutely. Brother Knowledge, I'm sorry. I'm looking down because I'm trying to find, is it on New Soljet Community?
I'm posting it now. I'm over here multitasking. I
I
just
got
need a
you.
half a
Okay, no
second,
problem. No
and I
problem. No problem.
and I got
We
it.
gotta catch up with it. We'll catch up. But anyway, yeah, so that's the same thing I was looking at too, is how you explained that really good. You really detailed and more than I like that perspective. And yeah, fear is really the mind killer, and it's just amazing how you can plant those types of seeds. But and even people who possibly wasn't in fear, but they were the ones actually planting the fear seeds. So you have that other dynamic too, with people um, creating this panic for their own good. Like you said, it had a militaristic type of vibration. So even when you're looking at the control factor, and um, yeah, let's get into it. So they had, I know when it started off, they had the feud going on with the family, but there was this other dynamic also going on. There was someone who was automatically ostracized. I'm not sure what the exact reason was, but it was a redheaded lady, and there was a woman. I want to say Kirstie Alley, but her babies kept dying. So that was one of the things that came up in the movies, like she had a cursed womb, and they were attributing it to witchcraft. Yeah. So, do you remember that woman with the red hair? I
Yes,
can't
she
remember
was.
what her name was. Hmm.
I can't recall her name right now at the second. Yeah, she was off in the woods. So
Hmm.
that was an immediate indicator of being ostracized. Like she was outlier. She was isolated. She was
Hmm.
isolated, and the woman with the daughter, they were isolated.
The
They were
beauty.
right. They were, yeah, they were right. Their name was good, and they were ostracized in
Yeah.
a place that's supposed to left from larger persecution. You talk about this a lot. How we make oppressors out of ourselves. I thought that was interesting. You're already being persecuted. You're already being ostracized. You know what that feels like. So you
Hmm.
leave big England, right,
Hmm.
and other places in Europe to
Hmm.
come to Newfoundland. This is
Hmm.
pre-America, for the free exercise of your religion, and then you begin to ostracize people.
Right.
So
Automatically. Yeah.
right.
Treating
So
people
this
away.
lady's living, right. She's living in the woods. they have poor people. This lady, they called her a beggar. You see what I'm saying? So they left one large class system and introduced their micro class system. You see what I'm saying? So the people who didn't believe in what their practices were, they were ostracized and they were on the outs too. So
And then
in this,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
my bad. They just introduced the social class of, you know, have and have not too. And I think those was contributing factors. And the two warring families were supposed to be the most well-to-do in that environment.
Well, I was just gonna also just speak back to this lady with the red hair. Even the fact that they put her with red hair, because on the list of things that's supposed to be classified as witchcraft, having red hair was considered automatically. You could be considered a witch if you had red hair. Was born with red hair. Also, um, midwives were linked to. Was she a midwife, the woman with the red hair, or was that another woman that was delivering the babies? Because some wifetry was also connected to witchcraft.
Yeah, she was a medicine woman. She was a medicine woman, so she was considered a witch for that too.
For being a
So
medicine woman. But what about the
yeah,
woman who delivered the babies that kept dying? That's the one I'm speaking to. That would be
right.
also considered.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
it was a lot of people in that movie. You know what I mean? Because we're dealing with a whole village, so it's hard to keep all of the characters. You know, yeah, it was some memorable characters, and then some. I'm like, okay. So even the babies dying, people was looking at her side eye too, even though she was protected because she was part of a high rank too, like protected. But she was also looked at in a certain way for having babies always dying, like a curse. Even
right,
her husband started feeling that way.
right. And she's in the prominent family. You
Right.
know, we were talking about coming to America, right?
Hmm.
So that society of wanting to have your lineage marry off into a family that was well to do or within that high level of society. So their family ancestrally had a connection to standing, and you want to have your legacy carry on through your children. Your children are supposed to be your inheritance. So a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children to the seventh and 10th generation, right? So
Hmm.
curses visit you in the same way. You see what I'm saying? The sins of the
Right.
father carry on to the son to the seventh and 10th generation, right? It's interesting that they say this, and they're supposed to be religious folks who use the Bible, and the Bible says curses from the seventh to the 10th generation, right?
Mm.
So they're using this and they're looking at her as if something is wrong with her, you know, something demonic must be on her because she is not giving birth to children. You see what I'm saying? Or
Right.
she's giving
Right.
birth to children and they're not surviving
Not
the birth,
surviving. Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And
So.
she's seeing them, right? She's seeing them.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like she's seeing them as they depart. She's seeing people, as they depart, all kinds of things. So
Seeing
interesting.
who? The babies?
Yes, she saw the babies and remember some of the people who had transitioned. She
Oh
saw
yeah,
them.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. Yeah, because that movie was kind of animated. They'll bring like the other world aspect to it too. Yeah. Like, are you talking about like the visions where she could see the spiritual
Right.
aspect of it?
I must be frozen. Am I frozen over here?
You are frozen. I just didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's seeing the visions of those departed spirits who had
Yeah. Mhm.
transitioned.
Okay, so did you have wanted to like the Family Feud? That was something else that was early on in the movie that was established. Did we touch on that, or did you wanted to build on something around this Family Feud between fighting over the wood and or whatever, and just that whole dynamic with the family, the Putnams and the Proctors?
Right. The Putnams and the Proctors. They had they had a war similar to the Montagues and what was it? The Montagues and the Capulets, the Montagues and Capulets. If you think about Romeo and Juliet, right? There
Mhm.
was considered star-crossed lovers, and I think there was an illusion kind of with those two families coming together because of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of Romeo and Juliet, their families, the Montagues and the Capulets, they had a family war, and nobody knew where it started and what it started over.
Right.
So this is kind of like a Shakespearean sonnet coming true to life as an undercurrent of a feudal war that spills into a war beyond the physical to a spiritual war, basically. So it's supposed to be God's people versus the devil's people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, family feud that they had, it was long before they were born. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? So
Right.
they inherited that, you know. So they're at each other from what wasn't clearly articulated, but it came down to land, and it came like one family had, an abundance of land, and the other family through each generation used some artful means to cheat them out of the land, you
Right.
know, generation after generation. So
Right.
now the last piece of land in this feud or control of whatever land that they had left, you know, through that marriage, the family that was, cheating them out of the land, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
has interest in the land because it's now their family land because they married into the family.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that was interesting because that was actually a big piece of the movie though, because as you pointed out, when we spoke about it before, that was part of the distraction also, which helped to spark up these witch trials, their own agenda. But they had stuff going on the back end, as you said, like when they killed the man.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so we can want to go into Tituba, or just that whole dynamic with Tituba and the children, just the whole dynamic. And what about the women in the village? We could, go into there, like some of their their personalities and how they get along and stuff like that. And Tituba's role as the nanny or slave. She was a slave, but she worked closely with the children.
Right, right.
And
So
Tituba, go ahead.
the lady was sick. She was sick, and Tituba was, a caretaker for them. That she was their property, but she, appeared for all intents and purposes to be something far more greater. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
She was a, she was a nurse. She was a healer. She was there, taking care of the house, taking care of the children, all of the responsibilities of, one who would be in the family, but she wasn't in the family. So there was a
right.
distinction to let her know that she was there. So even in this, if I could say this real quick, I don't want to like veer off the subject too much, but I just wanted to point this out in the classism space. So in the hierarchy, this well-to-do family has a servant in their house, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
they created a permanent underclass in their society and a class that's not even categorized. Tituba would be a something that's not even categorized because she's not even classified as human, right? She's subhuman to them.
Right. So so
So
why so why didn't you think that piece was important? Because the racism and all of that ties into this whole witchcraft thing.
I think I think she
It's
was
very valid.
if anybody had it bad in this society, it was the women, and then she was a black woman, so she had
Right.
it double. You
Absolutely.
know,
That's very
so
valid.
yeah, so that permanent underclass, like if we try to figure out how it fits into the framework of society,
Mhm.
in its primordial society, the pre-America time is where they established this permanent underclass. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? So this
Mhm.
permanent underclass was established and they agreed on it. So even though these other things were egregious, these were things that came up out of it. So this historical event led to the actual destruction of the Puritan way.
Mhm.
Like this caused its undoing. This was the last straw, or the straw that broke the camel's back, if they would say. This,
Right.
put that cycle of space to an end.
That's deep. Yeah, that's real deep. And so just Tituba in herself, like I said, this was she was a very unique character, in she was an Arawak woman, or that's what's said. Nobody really knew exactly. They knew she was somewhere, but she was a black woman or an African woman, melanated woman, Indian woman. Um, but she had this ability of metaphysics that she brought with her, to America, when she was captured or whatever. And I'm honestly, from what I've heard about Tituba, um, she was something special, like when she was brought over, like for like, 'cause it was like her beauty or something also. But she ended up as this family's caretaker and everything. But she had these metaphysical abilities, knowledge of a lot of different things, including divination, including just how to work with nature and just other things. She just had, just the way things work. That was things that she picked up from her homeland. That's stuff that um, but she was gifted with it. And so that's where a lot of the when you're talking about like the racism and just the certain things that they attribute to us as Black people, a lot of that played a major role in the way they see our spirituality. That's why Tituba is so important in this piece, because she was the first one. I think she was the first one tried, wasn't she? The first one tried for witchcraft, or incarcerated.
Then she was first one incarcerated. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. What did you think of all of that? That was a trip, that whole trial. Just her relationship with the children. It seemed like the children were really close to her, especially the youngest child. And they enjoyed playing the games with her, and tapping into all these different little things and learning stuff. Even the mother knew, she never mind. And I think the father might have even known. At first it was like something that wasn't a big deal. Whatever she was, teaching them, games they were playing. Um, so what do you think about that aspect? And I don't know. I just felt like a lot of that played into her becoming a scapegoat. And that's what we also get the energy and introduce the character Abigail, the little girl Abigail, because I don't, brother Knowledge, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so the little girl Abigail Williams. And you said she was the niece of the people. I thought she was the man's daughter,
Yeah,
but
she was the niece. The daughter was Elizabeth, and she was
oh, Elizabeth.
the
Yeah.
niece. They didn't speak to her parents, so maybe her parents died,
Mm,
and she was just there with them, because there's no mention of her parents at all, not even written.
okay.
So
No mention of the parents. Yeah, that little girl was very, very manipulative. I just wanted to kind of look at her character and how she helped. What did you think of her? Like how she helped, because she definitely stirred up a lot of trouble in the movie. She's, just with all of her. What do you think that mindset came from, or what type of character is she? The way I see her is she's a manipulator, and but it got to be something else with that too. I know. Do you think she was in fear or just a manipulative child?
well, when we were looking at her, it was something like she was with all of it until she wasn't. She was with everything. So I think she represented a representation of the population and how fickle the mind of the people were.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
how people
how they
change.
they could sway from this to that. They were neighbors of one another. They were friends of one another. They was in that
Right,
little space. They was drinking that little fake wine, and everything was cool. And then it
right.
wasn't. You see what I'm
It's
saying? So
cool
they could
until it
be
wasn't.
cool with you and
Yeah,
then throw rocks at you the next day, right? Like they could
right.
be like sinner. You understand? Like your
Yeah,
homies.
yeah.
So
We need
she,
to. I want to get into, like, this movie was a lot. So starting with those little girls, they were like the stars of the trial. So I want to just kind of build around that, because that's yeah, they created a lot of problems along with this man. What was his name? Reverend Samuel.
yes, Reverend
Yeah,
Sam.
Reverend Samuel. So it was just it was a lot of, like you said, the mindsets change really fast. I mean, but the little girl had to be a little sinister, you know what I mean? So
Right.
um she was only with it until it put her in a hot seat, and she'll throw
Right.
anybody under the bus
Right.
in order to make herself look innocent. Because she was the same way when the girl was kissing the boy. You remember when the teenage girl
Right.
went with her boyfriend?
Right.
And she was the one that ran away. So I would say that she and I know in real life the girl is a Libra, so she might
Right.
have been dealing with a bit of trying to find balance between her shadow and the other side, because it's a form of duality, but because she definitely had a dualistic, like just a flip flop personality, So yeah, she was an interesting character all the way around the movie because she was a young child, and it was almost like she barely flinched when she saw the witches get hung. Yeah, so I just wanted to just get your mindset on the girls and just going into the trial. And I already just said, that's what I felt like. She was just kind of a sinister, had a bit of sinister energy, especially to be a young child like that. That she wasn't that old, no more than about 12 or 13, right?
Right.
If
Right.
that old. And
If
just
that.
her to have that
Yeah.
coldness to herself and everything. And I don't know if that's just something that religion does to people. I want to build on this.
Yeah, I was saying that she represented the people, and that's how they were able to manipulate the minds of the people so easily. Like nobody was in that thinking space except for like a couple of people. You know, the late. It was interesting that the lady was ousted for thinking. Right, the lady, she was ousted. The one who lived in the woods, she was ousted for
And a
thinking.
redhead lady. We'll refer
Right,
to her as the redhead lady.
the
Yeah.
redhead lady was ousted for thinking. Right, right.
Yeah.
And the people who the good family, the mother and the daughter, they were beggars. They were seen as beggars and beneath them, but they were thinking. They had sound mind, right?
Right.
Sensible. She was a thinking one, right?
Right.
And
Very
that one
intelligent.
family with the guy, my guy was like fakery. You understand what I'm saying? Because he was not
Absolutely.
he was not clicked in with anybody to where it would affect him. He was like, yo, nah, this is not it. So there were people that were there. Those were the people that were vocal, but everybody else went along with it.
Yeah.
Everybody else went along with it because that's what was going on. So that was my allusion to we cheering for you one day, and then the next day we cheering for you to get hung. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it was like really just disavow any knowledge of you as if you wasn't nobody. Like they never knew you. Like they brought strangers in there. It was like, yeah, they witches. Like, no, that was just, you know, the the neighbor.
Yeah. And another stigma is smart women. You said smart, they were all intelligent. Intelligence was also linked to witchcraft. That was
Right,
called crafty.
right, right,
But yeah, to what you're saying though, yeah, it just lets you know how people do in real life, even to this modern time. They're quick to cancel people, people that, you like, you all a fan or whatever you want to call it, a supporter or whatever. And then, that's why honestly, fan doesn't even mean, that doesn't mean they like you. A fan is just a fanatic. And it goes with going with that whole concept of even religious fanatics or whatever type of fanatic that you can be, and to me, is no rationale in that. And I feel that fear also creates irrationality, and yeah. But a lot of that movie, I mean that event. I'm saying the movie, but the events that the real life events, along with like the Haitian Revolution and the things that was going on in Europe. But really, the Haitian Revolution and Tituba's testimony is what sealed the faith for us as our spirituality is concerned. It was a revolutionary act. It was looked at as and we're talking about spirituality. The whole concept of witch, the word witch, that's from England or somewhere. That's not. the Africans didn't refer to themselves as witches, you know. So this was and honestly, the etymology to witch is just wise woman, you know. So basically, what they're saying is that, you know, it's a sin to be wise, but then the Bible says follow wisdom. So they need to get it together with that. So maybe that's why they say witch instead of wise woman. You know what I mean? Which way is up? Which way do you want to go? They went any which way they, you know, even just sitting there and just like you said, some of the, let's speak to that, how they flip flopped on some of the most prominent people in the community, people that they knew were good. You know, that's what made the little girl so sinister to me. You know, just um, her role in the testimonies. I mean, you know, it's so much we can go into with that. After we build on this little part, if you have something else you want to say on that, let's go into Reverend Samuel. But I was just speaking to just that, how they flip flop, the people, the women in the village, or the people of the village. You know,
Right. You're looking at everybody in that village came out of a woman. You see what I'm saying? Like
right,
this, there's no, that's not even a regard for that. You know, there's not even a regard for that. There's not even a regard for the mothers that gave you life. You would stand by and cheer, or you would, you know, they had the humiliation rituals. You see what I'm saying?
right,
So the Puritan rituals was physical and graphic and demeaning for you to repent, quote unquote. This was supposed to
right.
lead you to repentance. So
Repentance.
right. So they have this humiliation space. Like you talk back to your husband, and now the whole town got to be talking, you know, at you and publicly humiliating you and, you know, berating you. And this is supposed to get you back in good standing with your husband. Like, what is that? You
Right,
understand what I'm
right,
saying? So, like, the methodologies were very skewed, and it's showing very small minded space in regards to conflict resolution. So, if we have a disagreement and you say something back to me, now I present you to the townspeople, you know, like you're in this space now. So I think that was a major disconnect in this, you know, society and society currently. Like
absolutely.
they're one and
Yeah,
the same. So if
yeah,
you say something, if you stand up for something, and they're like, "Oh, look at her, she's angry," and they start attributing all of these lifestyles instead of you being a wise woman warning us of our wicked ways. So we still are having witch trials. You know, you're having virtual witch trials. You're having emotional, physical, and spiritual witch trials. Like people are after you. People are hunting you because you're being vocal and exposing the truth and not standing for the lie. You see what
absolutely.
I'm saying?
Yeah, the truth
So,
teller is a witch also.
right.
You know, absolutely. I've been through that myself with the work I do. That's why I think it's so important. Um, you know, and this is not to say that there's not a such thing as a bad witches or people that do this work for negativity. But it's just the fact of this whole series. You know, we're kicking it off with the Salem's Witch Trials, and I may invite some other ladies and stuff up here too to get a, you know, some different perspectives. But this whole thing is about understanding the taboo nature of witchcraft and spirituality, because there's so many things that's spiritual that they classify as witchcraft that's not, you know. Or it may be something that's like saying, do witches drink water? Well, then I'm not going to drink water because that's witchcraft. I mean, come on, man. You know, it's certain things that we have to that just don't make sense. You know, I don't even know how to put that in a term, in a way, like, you know, everybody has to, you know, as they used to say, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, right? So it's just certain things that's what makes us human. All humans need water. How about that? Let's start there, you know. Um, yeah, so it just, you know, when you're talking about this group of people too, and these Puritans, a lot of these people were so unhappy because see, the Puritans were separate from the Christians too, or the Catholics. So they had this, because Catholics, if you want to touch on the Catholicism, that part, they were actually, the early Christian churches was incorporating so-called paganism into the church. It was all, you know, all together. You get what I mean? So um they decided to go to this other extreme, and that let you know right there. And I think that's why the government sanctions people that do culty stuff. When we want to live like kind of like in ways that may be off the land, even because it's real quick that could turn into something different when you depending on who the leader is, depending on what that mindset is, because all of those people based on fear, politics, power, it becomes this collective ego. So whether you even agree on it or not, we're all looking for a scapegoat, somebody to project that frustration, to project that anger onto. So in this sense, the cult leader wasn't, the cult leader wasn't the cult leaders that we, experienced, white and black. Wasn't the Kool-Aid guy, and it wasn't, it was Reverend Samuel in this particular sense. He was the cult leader, and he helped to whatever his thinking is, because we can only rise, a nation can't arise, they say a woman, but I also say with leadership, a nation can't be is only as strong as the leader is. And if they on some BS, are they tyrannical or sinister or evil, it's going to be an interesting, community and environment in society. So what was your take on Reverend Samuel?
So Reverend Samuel, sort of like Abigail, they were weak
Yes.
and fearful. So
Mhm.
his space of manipulation was kind of sort of like Abigail's, but worse, to a worse degree. He's
Mhm.
there as the vicar of Christ, right? Like the Pope or the priest or whoever. So he was the right hand of God. He was God in the person, quote unquote. And he was
Mhm.
fearful. He was afraid. You remember when the fire was going on, he was praying and crying and scared to really go out and get involved in it. You understand? Like he was the representation of what the white male was in the society, to some degree. So you saw the children, you saw the women, and you saw the man. He was the representation of the man for most of the men. Most of the men was like that. There was two exceptions. There was the guy with the fakery and the elder guy that said more weight. You see what I'm saying? They were
Right.
different distinctions of the society. They like, nah. So one represented one generation, the elder generation, how it started out, and the other one represented in the space of keeping it going. So the reverend was there, ascended to some position for spiritual matters, which was a small role until this happened. Now he becomes elevated. Now his word becomes law, and it's the word of God, right?
Right.
So now it rebels through the society. So now everybody in the society is looking upon him and his niece haphazardly. His daughter is afflicted. Elizabeth is afflicted, right? She's
Mhm.
afflicted. She's the first one afflicted. And then this whole thing goes to where the niece is now calling out who's a witch. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So
But the niece
all
is
these
just
things,
him. She's just him. Like when you say they're the same,
right,
you said
right,
not as bad. That's how he started off.
right,
that was him at 11.
right.
Just so, and it may have been on other things, but still that those are the personalities. I didn't mean to cut your wit, but I just wanted to say
It's
that. Yeah,
good.
that
It's
little girl,
good.
how she
Yes,
irritated me. I could just,
yes.
if I could slap the hell out of a little girl and get away with it, she would have definitely been on the palm of my hand, because she needed her butt whipped. She just was I think she sucked more because she's a child and she shouldn't even be that intense.
Mm,
Know what I mean? It's like, wow, you know, that's a scary mindset. To be honest, she had more of a witch personality than the rest of the
right,
kids.
right,
And it's sad because those are the type of personalities that hold us back in society, because most of those type of personalities, for whatever reason, it seems like they're always at the head of society, or somewhere in the core of society. They influence in some type of ways with this, do-gooder type of energy she got.
right. And there's a space in between from when the movie first starts to the actual trial, because they're showing a snapshot at the trial at the beginning,
Hmm.
and she's seeing them in the dramatized space. She's seeing them as witches as she's calling their name. But when they get to
Right.
trial, there's none of that.
None of it.
You
Yeah,
see what
it's
I'm
in her
saying? So
mind.
it's
Hmm.
literally there in her mind. So now she's drinking her own Kool-Aid. Like she's there, like, all right, all right. So now she's zoning out like this person, that person. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? All the way to the high office, right? I
Right.
know we're gonna
Right.
get there. So it's this space, and now she becomes a trusted authority. So her and him are akin because once this trial starts happening, he arises to power, and so does she. She
Right.
was neglected. She was an afterthought. She wasn't even thought of really. You see
That's a
what I'm
good
saying?
point. That's a good point.
So she
Yeah.
gets brought to the forefront, you know, because of dissatisfaction, because she was sick of being kind of left out of the whole situation.
Mm.
So she in turn does this now, right? So him in this space, he was a one that was relegated to Sunday service type situation. And in this space, he's got constant interaction. Now he's there. Now he's asking, for wood and all kinds of other stuff that's coming along with it because he rises now in social standing. He goes beyond just the, you know, side story to the main focal character. So him and the judge, the old man,
So you're
they
talking
both
about hold on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get an understanding. You talking about the man that the wood guy was kind of insignificant?
no, just the reverend.
Oh
The
yeah,
reverend.
Samuel, Reverend
Yeah,
Samuel. Yeah.
they wasn't in church every day. You see what I'm saying? They wasn't
Right,
in church
right,
every day.
right,
So
right,
they
right.
was it was
You
like
see
a
his day-to-day life. So other than
yeah,
when he's in church, that's when he takes center
right.
stage. Other than that, his
Right.
personality was kind of
Yeah. Nobody cared. Nobody went to his house and said, "Hey, this house is on fire." Nobody went
right,
and say, "Oh, let's go get the reverend." You understand?
right,
Everybody was
right.
out there doing this thing. You see what I'm saying? Trying to figure out how the fire started. Nobody went to the reverend. The reverend, somebody said something like, "Oh, I think it's the," and then he went out there and he was scared to actually go, near the fire. But this is supposed to be the spiritual leader of the community.
And she was cooking up. Yeah, I mean, and the little girl was like, I never thought about that though. That she was kind of like insignificant. There was a lot of kids in this movie, a lot of
Yeah,
girls, a lot of
right.
children. But she also was starting mess. People like drama. People like the
Right.
drama, the mess.
Right.
So when she started with all her craziness, that just made people want to go to that because they're all looking for the scapegoat. So now this witch is the scapegoat. Tituba's the scapegoat of anybody that they can project all of this um, fear onto or whatever. So that was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. And bringing the redhead woman back into the fold. That Reverend Samuel was quite a character, not to be confused with Kevin Samuel. They both characters though, but um, yeah, he was sitting there because this was a suppressed, which is also why the kids were having some of the issues, even with the kissing and stuff. The little girl was flipping out. She probably wanted to be kissed on herself because I think she had a crush on the guy too, but he liked the older girl because the whole thing is we're speaking of a time where, and that even ties into stuff with voodoo. When I touch on that, then I can go deeper into that, but that's not for tonight. But just people were so oppressed and suppressed in society, even not just with slavery but sexual expression. Nobody could really express themselves in that way, and then when you add this religion to it and these strict rules and all of this other stuff, then people was constantly convicting themselves, right or wrong. They convicted themselves. So that was part of Reverend Samuel's issues too. His wife wasn't pleasing him. And he's lusting after this exotic redhead woman in the same way he was lusting over Tituba when he spanked her. I mean, wasn't that crazy and hard to watch?
Yes, yes. And he was the only man in the film that assaulted a woman.
Wow. Wow.
He's the only one.
Mm,
He assaulted Tituba, and threatened her with more physical violence. He was the
right.
only one. And even in the midst of everything that's going on, all the chaos and confusion, nobody just ran up on the woman and hit her except him. He's the only one.
Yeah,
He's the
'cause
only
he had
one.
to. He was definitely operating on fear. He was a
Right.
person that you could really really say was operating on fear because every action he took was fear based. because he was losing control. He didn't want to, first he didn't want to lose control. And then the more it went on, he lost control. He was losing control, then he just totally lost control.
Right.
Yeah.
And his wife left with the children, and everybody knew it, but he still was allowed to assume leadership in the community.
Yeah. It was it's two things I want to touch on. Since you brought up the wife and her taking the children, I mean the child abuse. It was just that's how sick the fear was getting surrounding this these witch trials and everything. I mean, they were burning the kids and doing crazy stuff like that to the, it was crazy. That one little girl, man, she was a soldier. That little baby. I mean, she was like really one of the strongest ones in there and had one of the purest hearts. And she was the closest to Tituba, and it was just like, I mean, let's talk about the CPTSD. Let's talk about the mental, emotional, and physical abuse. And that think about this now. This is important because these are the mindsets that help build America. I mean, these children, these were little young kids. So they mean the next generation and the next generation. And see the guy that you got a kick out of that said fakery, him. See, what we got to remember is there's so many things that came into creation. But like I told you about, like elders, like my great grandmother was like, those people didn't go to the moon because before all of this stage and Hollywood. Now, when I speak to Hollywood, I'm talking about the galactic Hollywood now. I'm not talking about it just in Los Angeles. I'm talking about this Truman Show that we live in. Before these certain things took place, it's sometimes good to look back in history because they knew a lot of this stuff was bullcrap. They knew it because they seen it go down. They seen certain religions and certain orders constructed. They seen them in their inception, that it was for certain political reasons why these religions in certain disciplines, well, not even disciplines, control disciplines, I guess you want to say, control mechanisms and systems that were put in place, and they knew what it was before then. Because there was a time when everybody was looking to the so-called witch or medicine woman for cures. Until somebody got so damn smart, these white men who wanted to be, they wanted to take the art of medicine, of working with natural medicine, and create this witchcraft, the real witchcraft, which is pharmaceutical. The pharmaceutical, that's the etymology of that is witchcraft. You get what our sorcery, excuse me, sorcery. So let's talk about it. So I'm just saying, so that was a whole political agenda surrounding that. So this man looking at this, and probably he probably was an Aries, because he like, ain't no damn witchcraft. That's some fakery. Cut that shit out. That's the mindset. Get out of here with that. You keep on with this, because I'm not gonna even believe this. Y'all not gonna put me on this craziness, because I remember when y'all started all this mess in England, in Europe. We didn't see this play out already, and now y'all jumping over here with this same stuff. I mean, to the point it didn't even make sense no more. Think about how many people they just started roping up in the movie. It just started getting ridiculous. Almost the whole damn town was in jail or dead. Like, damn, y'all burning the kids and everything. I mean, come on. It just got to a point where it was no more even logic to it. The people that believed was starting to not believe. Even the preacher knew it was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. They even knew the little girl was lying at a point, but that was deep. Yeah.
And the way they identified them so easily, they just so easily. It's like, oh, the little girl said it. Yep, lock them up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like lock them up. They just threw them in chains. These were people that they were social with, people that knew their families. They threw them in prison. They threw women in prison. You see what I'm saying? Women and children, they threw them in prison like nothing. Like, all right, and they were dying in the prison. The ones who didn't get to and just leaving their bodies there.
Ugh,
You see them like, yeah. So
wow.
there was some men that they took, but there were a lot of women and children that they took.
But what about the newborn babies? The little babies.
Yes.
It was just it was a very, just in general, just that whole era was very, very violent. And I'm not talking about just the witchcraft era. I'm talking about slavery, all of that, just all of that stuff that we were subjected. Not we. Well, yeah, maybe in another life but that it was a sick time. ignorance, lots of ignorance. So when you get people that was considered wise, they were a threat to these ignorant societies that were already in place. Because remember, people are figuring things out. And I know, like I said, a lot of metaphysics and stuff was coming on in the scene in 1700s. It got real deep when people was really getting into astrology and stuff like that. But this is 1692, and it's there. But it's deep because they're looking. They all had these political agendas. That was one of the main things. Yeah, the racism, all of that. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I want to touch on other than the way they did these children psychologically. And these are the thoughts that forms our country and just thoughts worldwide. Because, yeah, Shirley MacLaine. Interesting. Kirstie Alley, too. Kirstie Alley and Shirley MacLaine, I like to touch on them. Kirstie, because she had an interesting relationship with the redhead one.
Yeah, and she turned on her. She didn't speak up for her.
She
Didn't
didn't.
say she did after she went to her and got wisdom from her because again she
Right.
was one who was looking to help her to conceive so they wouldn't kill her
Right.
because she had like I believe she had one more chance. You understand what I'm saying? And she was out of there. She was either ostracized or she was out of there. All the
Right.
way. So she went to get some answers and she received those answers. Those answers that she received, she told her in privacy. And when it came time to speak up, all she needed was one person to say, nah, she's not a witch. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Like, no, she not a witch.
But
And
that's the fear factor, man. Wow.
right,
Wow. Because next they'll be saying, well, you a witch. Because they were doing stuff like
right.
1 minute, and honestly, I see a similarity with Africa in this as we're speaking, where the tribes were doing the same thing to each other in Africa. Fear is a mother, because it got to a place where they're like, don't take us. We got a whole bunch of Negroes. It was a point where people were really literally selling each other out. Africans kidnapping each other during that time in order to save themselves. That's what happened with Aquino. Is the way you say the name? That king, that prince that was taken? That was the same type of frequency. Tituba was thrown under the bus because, and honestly, it was so interesting because Tituba was the only one that they didn't put to death. One of the,
Right.
ones that was
And
really on the docket.
she's the admitted one. She's the one that admitted to be a witch.
Correct. Which
Yeah.
is why she was spared, because that's what the government's always like. The one that tell the truth. That's how they do now. And
Yeah.
so if you tell the truth, you're gonna get in trouble, but you ain't gonna get it like the one that's lying. And they gotta dig for the truth, right? Plus, Tituba helped perpetuate the stereotype. That's the only thing that I didn't like that she did that. Because she went so wild and bizarre with the stories. This is where they were writing it down, like, oh yeah, this is what happened, and the witch is making pacts with the devil, and this is where all of that craziness came from, and it wasn't even real. It was stretched. And I get it. She probably was like, whatever, I'm gonna feed him something. But this is where that mindset, this is where all of these, ideas came from, of which they the way they saw spirituality, which classified everything was classified as witchcraft. So yeah. So did you have anything else? Anything else we leaving out? Because this was a long movie. So it was a
Right.
lot.
That term witch hunt, as we discussed,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Which,
yeah, just even its illusion is awful. You see what I'm saying? So they're like, oh, you going on a witch hunt. So they know it was fake. You see what I'm saying? Now they're saying, oh, you going on this witch hunt. So
mm-hmm.
it's a path that leads nowhere.
Right.
It ain't going to
Oh, I
get you no
see.
further to the truth. Like so,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an illusion, right? So
The
they
court
were
was
they
saying
were
the whole
hunting
witch
down
hunt.
people. Right?
Yeah.
They were hunting down people and making them into witches in order for it to be true. So
Right.
something to suit the narrative to
Mhm.
justify, these actions. So all it took and to be bewitched mean you fell victim to the power of a woman. They'll say, "Oh, she bewitched you." You see what I'm saying? Like, because if
Wow.
she got you to change your mind, they call it bewitched, like you're bewitched.
Right.
Like, and they had that show. Remember that show? You
I
know,
know.
with the bewitched. So they had that ability to say, okay, you have the power to manipulate my reality. So you must have done something, evil to me, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
crazy as hell.
Yeah, it's all crazy. And only, the ones that even the man though, he kept his opinion to himself because he knew about it, but he didn't speak about it. The one that knew the girl was lying, just like they knew that when those trials started, that Tituba and them was in there playing with metaphysics. They was in there. He knew that, but he wasn't really speaking on it like that until the girl implemented Tituba. So that was deep. And it's much more to come. I know I didn't really. I'm just using StreamYard for the first time. I would definitely still promote this build on my pages after we're done too, and everything uploads. But this is only scratching the surface because I'm giving the side. We're talking about the movie and the events surrounding the Salem Witch Trials, but there's much more to come. And we're gonna get into this thing because it's real deep. It's real deep. But anyway, did anything else you wanted to add to this show?
I think this was an amazing. You
Absolutely.
know, people can go watch this mini series that they compiled into one. It was like 3 hours or so. So if you have some time to be able to go look at it and just think about it in regards to the psychology of fear. Think about
Mm,
this
mhm,
aspect in connection to fear. This
mhm.
is rumors. People got killed for rumors. People are locked up for rumors. People are falsely imprisoned, implicated, and dead over rumors, over hearsay. They were called heresy back in the day. You see what I'm
Mhm,
saying? So
mhm.
the power of a lie, a power of a lie magnified, a power of a lie unvindicated, where the truth never comes out, is all it takes for your life to end. So somebody could tell you a lie, and it jives well with your psychology of fear. So you go and act on it. You see what I'm saying? You're
Right.
preemptive with it. So this is a case right here. We seen the backdrop was a feud between families, and how that feud between families that went unresolved and kept on going led to a space where the society was open to this, and because they were ostracizing people and introducing this classism and treating people as subhumans, it was so easy for them to be able to allow this kind of thing to happen. Their mothers, their wives, their daughters are now witches, and they're killing them. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're setting up these, what they call them, kangaroo trials, and kangaroo court. Like, the highest mother of society. We didn't touch on that. The spiritual head, like the mother of the community, the nurse
Shirley
to
MacLaine.
everybody, right?
Yeah, that's what
She
we wanted to touch on. Shirley MacLaine's
yeah,
character, Rebecca Nurse.
she's there, right? Nobody was exempt from this level of examination and scrutiny. Everybody's mother, they're like, excuse me, nurse, excuse me. The women that are examining her are like fumbling, trying to do this whole thing. And the public humiliation and disregard for her standing in the society. The the Reverend cried, and she gave him the strength to continue on. I don't know what's going, like he's all falling apart, and she's putting them back together. Like, look, you are the spiritual head in this community. You can't be out here fumbling and bumbling and crying and all this. You see what I'm saying? He showed no compassion for her whatsoever. He looked,
None.
he all of the secrets, everything that was happening. She was right there in the midst, and
Percy
she took
Allen.
it with her.
Oh, oh wow. This is cold. They were cold, man. That was
Yeah,
some cold,
right,
cold stuff there.
right.
Wow.
They act like they never
Yeah,
knew her.
very angry. Very angry.
Yeah, she was a mother to the entire community, and they just casted her aside.
But it
That
didn't
man,
start like that. Something happened where, because she was at all of the trials, she watched some of the hangings. So
right?
something happened where she was accused, and I don't know if it's because they stood. Oh, it was somebody that they stood by, I believe.
Hmm.
Or was it? You remember was it her that they stood by? Was somebody, and that's when they started saying, "Well, you a witch." They started pointing out other
Kirsty said
people.
her name in the house because she was seeing her. It was like a vision she had. Remember,
Mm, yeah,
she
well,
saw
Kirsty.
us like, was she in the house or whatever it was. And as she was fearing, people getting found out, she said it, and the little girl heard her and said her name and said she
Oh,
was a
okay.
witch in the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah, that was deep. That was really, really deep. Yeah, I was trying to think if there was anything else because oh yeah, those little girls, man, the show that they put on, remember the seizures?
Right,
And
right, right.
that was, they were
they
like
did
bugged
they
out.
did that on command, like.
Yeah, they were like bugged out. Oh. Yeah, that
And
was
that was
crazy.
infectious. People would just start falling out like nothing. Like everybody just like, all right, we doing what they doing. So it's like, all
Right.
right,
It was
we
on
safe.
cue. And
Right.
one thing I want to close on, because I don't know who's gonna see this video in the future or whatever, but it's really important for parents to be hyper vigilant. I know we grew up in a time where children didn't have a voice, or um, it's what we tell you. And even with white families back then, it was just all around the board. Children supposed to be seen and not heard, things like that. But the level of abuse on those children, and still to this day, parents that have strong control issues themselves and strong religious convictions, sometimes they need to, really think about how some of these mindsets that need to be revolutionized and examined affects your children. We often lose our children in situations like this. Lose them to sometime even the streets, because these children were at the end of the day, they were terrified of the father. They're calling them kids afflicted with witchcraft, but at the end of the day, it was the father that the little girl feared, to the point where she really had issues. She really was one of the ones that actually did have an issue, but it wasn't caused by witchcraft. It was caused by fear. And that was just really sickening. I mean, she told her mom. I think that's why the mama took them out of there, because he wouldn't stop it. He just continued with his, I think when one person was tripping about having sex with his wife or something too. I don't know. It's just some weird stuff. They even had sexual, imbalances in the movie. So if anybody can't, yeah, tap in and watch that. That was good. We'll save some of it for them. Yeah, and maybe when we're building again, it'll give people a different understanding too, because the bills are gonna just get, like I said, I'll be inviting other people on. Brother Knowledge will be coming back on. Sometime I'll just be on and or actually sometime we'll open up the panels up to, more people can come up and discuss some different mindsets about spirituality and so-called witchcraft. Okay. So that's where I'm at. And I thank you again for joining me on this opening for episode 1 of Witchy Wednesday, the taboo nature of witchcraft and spirituality, and on Kolography TV, because this is the first time I forgot to shout it out, but you brought it in. Kolography TV, and then I think the link is on New Soljet Community and also on Soljet Tarot. Or where? Where can this? Yeah, they'll find it. The link is out there, so we'll post
Denim
it.
design,
Denim
Joseph
design.
Sargent, new
Okay.
subject. Yeah, the link is out there.
And it'll get smoother. This is our first run, and I think it went pretty good. And I'm speaking to the link because we were trying it out and just to see how everything. So I think, yeah, I appreciate the, right on. And thank you everybody that tapped in and everybody that will be tapping in the future. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we close, brother?
Thank you again, and support our priestess and support the new Soljet healing community. It's an
That's right.
amazing place, and in this transformational shift that we're going through, you're going to be looking for answers and healing, to overcome a lot of the ails that we have inherited. So just like we spoke about this particular, time period of history, epigenetically, a lot of this stuff is passed on. So we have to deal with, some of these traumas so we don't pass them on to our future generations. So this
Absolutely.
new soldier healing community is astutely in the space that exists for our healing and for our renewal. So thank you, High
Thank you.
Priestess. And thank you for your love. Thank you for your compassion, your patience with us. I know we're a little stiff necked sometimes, we be getting out there, but we honor you and we honor your dedication and commitment to our, resurrection in our eyes. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes. Everybody's just beautifully human. We just learning the light and the shadows. So may people embrace and tap in and give this show a chance with an open mind and heart, because this will really help many people in their evolutionary shift, just understanding realism versus spookism, was real and was not, so that we can move forward in our evolution. And that's what this build is about. That's what this series is about. Okay. So that's what I want to close on. So love and light. You guys make sure this is only on the, what is it? The third and wait. We have this. What Wednesday is this? This is the third Wednesday.
Well, we on this. The second and the fourth Wednesday is this.
Okay, so we're doing the second and the fourth, and then Tarot Talk Thursday is the first and the third. So y'all tap in. And thank you, Brother Knowledge, again for coming onto the platform. Peace.
Hypno music. Yeah, gotta let it go. Knees on the ground and I let it go. Yeah.